Today we head inland to the floodplains of the Adelaide River, where one of Australia's most impressive aquaculture stories is quietly helping to shape the future of our national food security. Dan Richards is the director of Humpty Doo Barramundi, a pioneering, family-run farm producing premium, sustainable barramundi in the Northern Territory. But this is more than just a great fish tale. It's a story of sovereign supply, regional resilience, and why growing seafood on land in the middle of the top end is a strategic play for Australia's future. We'll unpack how Humpty Doo's inland operation supports clean, green and reliable protein production, how its wetland recirculation system keeps things sustainable, and why it's become a case study in regional development, Indigenous employment and climate-smart aquaculture. Dan Richards joins us now from Barra Country. Dan Richards joins us today from Humpty Doo Barramundi, a name that's become synonymous with premium Australian seafood and one of the country's most compelling inland aquaculture stories. Dan, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's great to be here today with you, Todd.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. And so, Dan, for those who haven't been to Humpty Doo, can you describe where you're based and what makes your farm so unique?
For sure. So we're located halfway between Darwin and Kakadu National Park on the mighty Adelaide River. It's a big saltwater estuary that's full of massive crocodiles. So we're in dinosaur country. It's amazing wildlife and a great place to be able to farm, Australia's iconic fish, the barramundi. So we're on the site of a failed agricultural venture from the 1950s, the Humpty Doo Rice Project. And so there's a lot of wide open space, amazing wildlife, birds and goannas and buffaloes and it's crocodiles and snakes and you name it. So it's a beautiful place to be and we've created a great group of people to work with out there.
No, it's wonderful. I've personally had the pleasure of being on the Adelaide River. Had a fishing trip up in the Tiwi Islands with some mates a couple of years ago, and then we did a heli fishing and a heli pub tour down the Adelaide River and got to land in some unique spots and try and catch some barra and dodge the crocs. It was an amazing experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
And mate, tell me, Dan, how did Humpty Doo Barramundi begin? Was this always about feeding the nation, or did that mission evolve over time?
For sure, yeah. So I guess the farms was first conceived in 1992 and started in 1993, and in '94 my family sort of took over from the initial shareholders who'd realised it was going to take longer and cost more to make a buck than they thought. And right from the outset, we were really excited by barramundi being such a tasty fish, one that is so well suited. We're in the spiritual home of barramundi in the Northern Territory, and so it's always been an animal and a cuisine that's been something that we've really valued. And so the opportunity to get involved in a sustainable farming model to be able to produce this product at scale was something that we were excited about from the outset. And then over time, so I guess at the beginning there was a lot of it was about being close to the fish. We love fish. We were always fishing and catching fish and eating fish and sharing fish. So to then be able to create a business out of barramundi, and our mission has evolved. I guess initially it was about how do we get involved in the industry and start and learn, and then over time, as we've been successful at that, it's really, we've built this model of saying how can we create a Northern Territory legacy or a legacy for North Australia? Creating opportunities for people here in the Territory, growing great food, doing it with great people, and making this taste of the Territory available to people around Australia and around the world. So it's evolved over time, but right from the start, we've always been a values-based, organisation, and our mission hasn't really changed from that point of view. So our mission is to responsibly produce beautiful Australian barramundi while demonstrating our genuine care and commitment to our people, our fish, our environment, and our partners. And so, our people is about both the people in our team as well as the community that we're part of. My kids are fifth generation Territorians. So creating opportunities here in the Territory is really important for us. The fish, our care of our fish is about animal welfare and ensuring that they have the best lives they can throughout their journey, right through to harvest. Our environment is about stewardship of natural resources, and that's always front and center in our decisions. And then our partners are wide and varied. Everyone from our financiers with the banks through to Australian consumers and the value chain to help get it to them. So it that's really what drives us. It's the what I say to my team. So that's what gets me out of bed. That's the standard that I'm going to hold myself to. If you find me not behaving consistently with those values and that mission, tell me, because I'll certainly tell you if I find that you're not following those. So that's been a really good way to do it.
Mate, that's obviously set up a wonderful framework for success too, and leading from the front, and leading by example as well, mate. So, congratulations to you and your team on that, because you certainly have become one of Australia's most premium brands in the seafood business. So, congratulations.
It's certainly been a journey, from a tiny scale to become the largest Australian-owned fish farmer. Is Has been a long and exciting journey with many turns, but we've really learnt a lot, and we continue to do so. And now we can really see that opportunity to use our business as a force of good, to have positive impact on the community around us, and while producing a delicious fish that for the Australian consumers.
Oh, that's great. Dan, we're seeing growing demand from premium markets across Asia and beyond. How's this shaping the role that aquaculture plays in securing Australia's protein future?
For sure, Todd. So I guess if we look at it at the global level, in 2018, aquaculture overtook wild caught fisheries as a source of protein for humans around the world, and you're seeing over time that you know wild caught fisheries has hit its the sustainable limit so it's not likely to grow. But as protein demand continues to grow, it's aquaculture's very well placed to continue taking that up. It's the fastest growing agri sector globally, and so we're part of that wave, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So, interesting too, Dan. Like, I mean, governments obviously have a big role to play in, supporting aquaculture, given, the licensing arrangements and also managing the environmental aspects as well. 'Cause as you mentioned, our wild fisheries have been overfished, and they're heavily regulated. So, aquaculture has to be the future, especially when it comes to, seafood as a protein.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the demand for high quality aquatic proteins is and as key nutrients for human health, omega threes, minerals, vitamins, proteins is increasing. So too, as more people look to live healthier lives, and premium markets also demanding those things. So, both domestically and overseas, we're seeing expansion in those key drivers around eating tasty, healthy products. So at the same time, oceans under increasing pressure from climate change, pollution, overfishing, create even more opportunities. So this really accelerates the need for scalable, environmentally responsible aquaculture. And our land-based farming model is designed to deliver consistent, high-quality fish with low environmental footprints. So, vertically integrated an investment to ensure we don't compromise the health of the wild ecosystem around the farm. So we've got everything from a genetics program that we're running with CSIRO for quite a number of years now, to develop unique genetics around, that are delivering exceptional flesh quality in our fish, while also being, adapted for our warm tropical environment up here in the Northern Territory. So seeing demand for that grow. Basically, what we're delivering is clean, green, and safe. So we're seeing, with big focus on transparency and provenance and the reputation for quality. So it's really good. And barramundi as a species is also really sustainable. They're one of the ways they measure sustainability is how much fish you put in to how much fish you grow. So if you're dealing with with a species like a southern bluefin tuna or something like that, you might have they're what you call an obligate pescivore. So you might have something like 10 kilos of anchovies go in to produce 1 kilo of fish. Whereas with barramundi, they're adapted to converting lots of different proteins into barramundi. So, they can incorporate in waste products from other human food processing, such as chicken, as well as soy and lupins and the like. So for 1 kilo of fish going in, we're getting about 2.5 kilos of barramundi out. So it's a great sustainability story and sustainable for the long run.
Yeah, and that food conversion ratio is, huge, not only from a sustainability piece, but also a profitability piece. And, we need aquaculture facilities to be profitable to be able to produce as well, right? Um,
Absolutely. I mean, fish feed is it's what I say. It's not chicken feed. It's very expensive. Input really has to be really high quality to deliver the nutritional requirements of both the fish and the humans that are going to eat that fish. So it's very expensive feed. It's our highest cost input, but it also delivers a great quality product consistently. So that's so important.
Yeah, Dan, I had an association with the seafood industry and aquaculture for a few years with Blue Harvest, and I remember people, the big debate was always, well, I only want to eat something wild caught. I'll only eat wild caught barramundi, and my whole argument was, well, what's that barramundi eating? How's it being treated? Um, at least with aquaculture products, you know what they're eating, you know how they're treated. I believe you get a far better tasting and eating fish, especially these days in the systems that where they're quite active as well, where the fish is quite active. But that's another discussion, another argument to be had at the pub.
Look, it's definitely something. It's a bit of a funny thing. It's really marketing by the wild caught industry that's driven that. Because if you look at it, I say to people, I've had this conversation while you know providing samples to people out in the retail market, and they say, "Oh, I don't need anything that's farmed," and we're standing in the fruit and veg aisles, and I wonder where this carrot came from. Is that a wild carrot? Is that a wild orange? I wonder, let's look at the beef cabinet over there. Was that wild Wagyu or was that a farmed Wagyu? Actually, I don't think there's anything you eat that isn't farmed. So, it's a pretty ridiculous conversation. I love to hold up ridiculous mirrors from time to time just to say, well, let's be real about, the reality is that we can't, we've got growing protein markets and for high and discerning protein markets, as well as just commodity protein markets. And the reality is that we can't supply all of that out of the ocean, as we can't supply all of our nutritional needs by hunter gathering anymore. So I think we've got a great system, which is a critical part to long-term food security for humans around the world.
And you touch on a really good point there, Dan. So why land-based and river-fed aquaculture systems like Humpty Doo, why it's so important to the conversation around food sovereignty and security. How do you see that in your mind?
For sure. Well, what consumers and people need is a reliable supply of a high quality, stable protein source. And so we look at things like in our environment. So if we go to the tropical north of Australia, there's been, I think, 5 sea cage farms in operation up here, and 4 of them have been blown away by climatic events. So in the north we get cyclones, and so the history there is pretty consistent. That there's a huge, that everywhere is going to get hit by a cyclone from time to time, and so just coming inland a little bit, we're on a big saltwater estuary using tidal water, which gives that marine flavour to the fish, but we've put that security around it by just being back from the coast a little bit. So that's really important, for consistent, reliable production. It also gives us biosecurity and disease control benefits because we can control the water coming in and out of our operation. Humpty Doo is quite unique in that it runs a huge saltwater recirculation wetland system that was developed off the back of my father's 2002 Churchill Fellowship, where he looked around the world at emerging concepts, and we were leaders in commercializing that sort of a concept. And there's been almost no other take up here domestically. So in that situation, what we do is we recirculate that water again and again. Bringing the water from the Adelaide River when the salinity is at its optimal level, and then we recirculate that water continuously. What that means is we get a completely consistent product, so the fish is just as good, and with all of those marine flavors in January as it is in July. And it means that we're removing more than 99% of any nutrients that the fish produce as well. So we've basically comprehensively resolved a lot of the ecological issues that are associated with aquaculture.
Dan, that's really important. And it sort of leads me to a question around, risk and resilience, and especially given your geographical location up in the Northern Territory. Many people have tried and failed. Up in East Arm in Darwin, there was a facility, Wild River, due to access to market and that geographical location. And when most people think seafood, as we just discussed earlier, they think about the coastline. So what's the strategic value of growing fish inland?
For sure. Sorry, can you just give me that question again, Todd?
Yeah, so I guess the actual question is, what's the strategic value of growing fish inland as opposed to on a coastline?
For sure. So there's a number of elements to that. So one of the things we've got involved there is that minimal discharge. So with responsible approach to aquaculture, you can grow the business with minimum impact on the environment. You've got more control over environmental and sustainability of the operations more broadly. It provides greater climate resilience. Land-based model is more adaptable to a changing conditions than open water systems, and the risks that we face from heating oceans and from cyclones and other serious climatic events make coastal operations very vulnerable. So it's about feeding people without further pressure on our oceans. So for us, we have the space to expand and maintain a single site of operation. Gives us full traceability and control over the inputs, as well as being able to really focus on leading animal welfare and food safety. So we see in our situation, located up here in the wilds of the Northern Territory, that it really also has the ability to strengthen regional economies with local employment, regional development, and for us, Indigenous engagement, and create a more resilient food system which protects against supply chain disruptions from weather events and the likes. If we look in the Northern Territory, we employ about 150 people and contribute about $30 million a year to our local economy. So it's a pretty big impact in a population of 250,000 people.
That's massive, mate. That's industry leading. Well done. Dan, you mentioned earlier around your wetland recirculation system. Can you explain how that works and why it's central to the farm sustainability approach?
For sure. So, what our wetland does, so we bring in the water when the river's at the optimum salinity. It both in terms of managing discharge. So, we can release, like I said, more than 99% of the nutrients the fish produces is removed through that system, but also creating an environment that wildlife thrive in. So, we've got all sorts of birds and reptiles and all sorts of things in and around our operations. So it's regenerative, what we're doing, and it's and then we add that with modular pond setup. So the fish are swimming in their natural environment with recirculating water and at very low densities. So our fish are stocked in our ponds at less than 1% of the pond is fish. So they're swimming around in the salt water with free ranging with plenty of space, and then we just crowd them up when it's harvest time to take them out. So we've also introduced leading edge harvesting and animal welfare processes right from from the day that the animals are spawned right through to harvest. And so we've been running our genetics program for many years with CSIRO and developing fish specifically for our environment and for the needs of the market. So we've also got a great relationship with our traditional owners on the land, and we also work with other regional Aboriginal communities to help them with developing their own enterprises.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Dan, I mean, there are obviously a lot of innovations that you've mentioned there, but Are there any other technological or ecological innovations that have helped you scale responsibly in a fragile environment in the Northern Territory?
The journey we've been on, from very primitive operation to now leading operation has required constant innovation across all areas from, technology, monitoring systems, data management, as well as the farming systems, how we feed the fish, what we feed the fish, how we go to markets. Essentially, Australian protein is usually not the cheapest in the world. And so, being able to deliver a consistently high quality product with, with all of the safety and sustainability and quality elements enables, viable operations here in the north. So there's a whole range of things that come together to make it work. So.
Yeah, wonderful. And CSIRO, you mentioned, have been, yeah, I guess, partners of yours in developing the facility. I know, they partner with other facilities down south in Queensland, and seeing the output of what they do has been enormous. Have you found them to be a good partner to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think being able to put that science, we are awesome at the farming part, but that scientific rigor and the access to, to the broader teams that you can get in partnering with, an organization like CSIRO are really critical. I work with them at a different level as well. I'm on the Food and Agriculture Advisory Group for CSIRO. So, through that forum, we advise the CSIRO organization more broadly on strategic matters, and then they help us, enterprise with, with more technical issues and considerations. So we see, Australia's peak science agency as a great partner and a natural alignment. And a lot of the things that they're trying to do in the north line up 100% with what we're trying to do. So, you see, our business is all about strategic partnerships and creating win-wins so that we can, find people with strong alignment and all win together.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great approach. Dan, you mentioned a moment ago that you're contributing over $30 million a year back into the local economy. You're employing over 150 people. And you also mentioned the local Indigenous engagement. What's your approach been to engaging and employing Indigenous Australians in and around Arnhem Land, the top end more broadly?
For sure. So really our approach is about creating opportunities and building capacity and employment skills that they can use in our business and in their future life journeys. So, we provide employment opportunities for Aboriginal people, and as well as supporting training. So we think that that's really important to use our. So that's kind of, if you imagine you've got in the Northern Territory, 30% of the population are Aboriginal people. They control half the Northern Territory land area and 80% of the coastline. So, really, but there's a lot of people living in poverty and, without access to functioning economies and employment. So, we see really helping people on the journey, supporting people who are keen to make change to themselves, to their communities. So we really get behind them. So we can use the experiences that we've had through pioneering the growth of a business. So we've grown our business more than 2 million% since we started. So we see the value in pioneers and that things are hard at the start. And sort of, I think when you're pioneering, your dreams get washed by tears fairly regularly. Um, and so it's, helping people to understand that that's the journey of starting something up. So, while we work with where we can to add skills and life experiences to individuals, we also are working, we've got a partnership with the Aboriginal community of Wadare, which is a 1 hour flight in a small aircraft west of Darwin to the across beautiful floodplains to a coastal community there. Wadare's got, beautiful estuary and islands and sandy beaches and the like. And so they're really looking at how they can tap into their marine resources around them with a oyster farming operation, farming the tropical blacklet rock oyster, as well as looking at fish traps to help provide healthy food to their local, to the community themselves, feed their people. So we're really keen to support them in that. It's their operation, but we've been on a journey which can provide, which can be illustrative for them on where they can go. So we've been now for a year and a half running an exchange program where we go out there for 3 days at a time and understand the context and establish, build the relationships with people. And my family have been in the territory for 5 generations. Their families have been in the territory for thousands of generations. So that long term thought, approach and commitment to establishing relationships and helping each other thrive, I think, is really important. And so yeah, it's been great for our organisation to be involved in supporting a community like that in terms of adding further meaning to our people and in the work that they do, but also we believe that we're making a difference to that community. So it's a journey, and it's not a smooth journey, and it won't be a smooth journey, but we're committed to doing it for the long term.
Dan, I'm interested. Obviously, when you talk about engaging local Indigenous organisations and communities, it's not just about giving them jobs, right? I'm interested to know, what have you learnt from them and their communities around, I guess, farming and fishing practices, if anything?
For sure. Look, I think the thing is, the first thing is to appreciate that we look at things differently. They see, their understanding of their country is, is amazing, and they know what's going to happen because they've seen it happen many, many, many times. They know their local areas really well, and combining that, so seeing that and trying to understand what success looks like for them, and it may not be building an operation like ours. It might be, providing affordable, accessible, nutrient, high quality food to their community. And so I think just understanding that, and that's a sustainable thing to do, and that's virtuous. So I think just listening, learning, being respectful, and trying to understand the perspectives that they bring is really important. And we're still on a journey learning. And I've sort of said to them, I don't mind whether you want to have a small business or a long business. We've had a small business. We know what that looks like. We've got a bigger business. We know what that's look like. We'll support you to develop your business. So and that might be just feeding people at the local shop, and that's really worthwhile in itself.
That's wonderful. It's developing those microeconomies in the region. That's wonderful. Dan, in your view, what does the future of aquaculture mean for Northern Australia? And how do you think, policy and investment should keep up?
For sure. So I think there's a couple of things to think about. So I've been recently involved in a red tape task force with the Northern Territory government, which is about helping things to happen. Often policy's been set around how do we stop anything from happening. So it's looking, support for sustainability and sustainability of industries. We've been trying to develop a large scale solar farm to, to eliminate the carbon production, carbon discharge from our operation. But the Northern Territory power network is not set up for that. So they essentially require the proponent to fix the grid, which makes the operation unviable. So I think it's about, having that holistic thinking to ensure that as we go forward, we're developing sustainable systems that are being responsible. We often see proponents come in, particularly up here in the north, but it might happen everywhere, where people are coming in with capital and they're beating their chest and we're saying, we're going to build the biggest blah, blah, blah in the world. And without exception, it's resulted in massive scale failures. And so, we've developed a big business from a very small business. And so we think, that's something to think about, enabling people to start things small and have a go. We've also seen, if you think about it, from further up in the helicopter, there's a natural trend towards consolidation, leading to multinationals controlling everything. And the Tasmanian salmon industry is an example of that, where they're all foreign owned now. So unless this is what we want, we should foster policy settings that support local investment and ownership models. We're a fifth generation territory family who's started with nothing and built up something remarkable. And so creating an environment that enables that to happen, I think is really worthwhile.
Yeah, when you're talking about sovereignty and supply chain risk, Dan, you've hit something, you've hit a really important topic is all these multinationals, be it in aquaculture, horticulture, beef cattle, they're coming in, big superannuation firms and so on and so forth, coming in, buying up the industry. But what does that do in times of crisis? Well, it doesn't actually help us. It doesn't help the consumer. And we're losing people in the industry. You've got small, family businesses, you know, they're not able to compete against these multinationals, and then we end up with in the long run we end up with no product. It's a big risk.
But these capital heavy organizations can also use that capital to eliminate domestic competition. And then later on, once that competition's gone, they can, with monopoly, they can then charge the consumers a lot more. So I think you need to have a longer vision when you're looking at what's actually going on in markets. And so when you've got large producers who are pouring in a heap of multinational superannuation capital, using that to kill Australian businesses and later on to profit, it's not necessarily a great outcome for Australia's food sovereignty nor for Australian communities.
Dan, do you guys sell to any of the big supermarkets?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. How do you find those relationships?
Look, I guess we've built really strong relationships with Australia's retailers. We've got the supply contracts for Woolworths, for Costco, across the board. That's been quite positive. But I think it's a matter of, it's also about building respectful relationships, it's, and sustainable models, if, supermarkets, large retailers squeeze producers beyond the profitability threshold, then that's not conducive to further investment in innovation or in production. So it's about making sure that they're positive, respectful relationships. They're the critical pathways to Australian consumers. So you want to be in the game there, but we need to make sure that that these conversations are held in the right way.
Yeah, I guess you're in a unique position too, Dan. Like, one with your product. There's not a great deal of good quality aquaculture barramundi around. And I guess, talking of improvement, looking ahead, if Australia is to position itself as a clean, green, and reliable protein powerhouse, what do we need to get right in the next 5 years?
For sure. Look, I think that continued investment in innovation to maintain high quality standards, environmental management, animal welfare, supply, ensure against supply chain disruptions and limitations, and as well as looking at evaluating processing onshore. We're also passionate about looking at ways that we can engage the supply chain in supporting regional Indigenous communities to change their future. And there's often commitments, and we've won national awards for our work with Indigenous Territorians. But we've struggled to get any. So we've had a lot of clapping. But when we've said, "Can you throw us some pennies to help us, actually make a big difference here?" We haven't had any success. So this year, Taryn Richards, one of our co-owners, and my wife, is doing a Nuffield farming scholarship, traveling around the world, looking for models where the value chain is supporting the development, supporting primary producers to help regional Indigenous communities with bettering their lot. So we think that there's a few things there. So the other thing is ensuring the right access to premium export markets. So we've been working with Austrade to showcase the quality of our product at World Expo Osaka. So Humpty Doo Barramundi's got in the Australian pavilion over there, and so helping us to access high quality premium export markets is so critical.
Yeah, that is.
Ultimately, less than 1% of the world lives in Australia. So if we're going to grow our businesses here and invest, we need to be able to access more quality, discerning consumers.
And Dan, what risks do you see with imported product from Asia? I mean, obviously the government in the last few years they addressed the labelling issues. Obviously, people were bringing in barramundi that wasn't, or sorry, selling barramundi that wasn't barramundi, and the processing issues. Do you see that as a risk?
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of so in yes, so there's a lot of diseases that exist outside of Australia that can come in, and we've seen it with the white spot in prawns over in Queensland. And when I did a nutfield farming scholarship in 2016, 20 weeks through 20 countries, and I visited barramundi producers, or Asian sea bass producers in Asia, and they were dealing with huge disease loads. So there was up to 7 different diseases they were having to treat their fish against to enable those fish to survive. So there's some serious biosecurity issues, and obviously the national country of origin in food service labelling legislation has just been brought in by the federal government after many years of lobbying and a commitment to do that. We're yet to see what that looks like in reality. So there's a bit of a journey to go on there.
Yeah, well, he's hoping that all levels of government really get behind that. It's extremely important. Dan, you've built a wonderful brand over the years, and I must say I had the pleasure of eating Humpty Doo Barramundi on a Qantas flight recently from Brisbane to Singapore, and it stood up very, very well compared to eating it at a restaurant downtown. So the product quality is exceptional. You've done a great thing there, mate. You and your team, but what's one thing that most Australians don't realise about where their seafood comes from, and what would you like them to understand about the future of Australian aquaculture?
Absolutely. So I think there's a few things for them to think about. Firstly, that 2/3 of the seafood consumed in Australia continues to be imported, and hopefully the national country of origin labelling will help to make that apparent. And so what we want Australian consumers to do is to ask where their seafood comes from. If if in doubt, because there's been players in the food service industry who have been happy to remain silent when people go and eat at a fish and chip shop down by the water, and the natural assumption of the Australian consumer is that seafood comes from the water right in front of them rather than from 10,000 kilometres away. So I think that's really important. I think supporting Australian farmers and producers is really important. There's a great future in aquaculture if it's managed correctly and not at the expense of the environment. I think around barramundi specifically, barramundi is an iconic native species. It's very versatile. It tastes great, and it's mild, clean flavour and high in omega-3s and protein. We've actually just launched nationally with Sushi Izu, so that the sushi chain that's located in Woolies stores, and that's a world first that a national sushi chain's rolled out a sushi, barramundi sushi and sashimi. So we're really excited about that, and so we encourage everyone to go and give it a try next time you're in Woolworths.
Oh, that's wonderful, Dan. That's a great initiative. I guess the one thing that we found, especially when at Blue Harvest, is the more eyes you can get on it, and the more you can get into people's mouths, and then you're on the journey to winning. And I think it's that also that misconception that seafood and fish is hard to prepare or hard to cook, when it's not. It's quite simple. So it's that education piece too, which I know you guys are doing. Hey, Dan, thank you so much for your time today. It's been invaluable, your insights. Really appreciate you sharing them with us, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
It's been a wonderful opportunity to speak with you, Todd, and thank you.
Good on you, mate. Talk soon.
Take care.
And that's Barra country in full flight. A story not just of premium protein, but of national resilience, regional investment and sustainable innovation, all from a floodplain outside of Darwin. Dan Richards, thanks for joining us.